Hey guys, today is the first day of December. We've only got about 2.5 weeks of school left, and we're going to go ahead and get started talking briefly about polynomials, and then we'll do some statistics, and then we'll be done. So today what we're talking about is parts of an expression and whether an expression is monomial, binomial, trinomial, or a polynomial, okay? So we're talking about polynomials today. We've already talked about parts of expression all the way back in August, so we're just going to go over that. We have, for today's vocabulary, these are the things we're going to be talking about: term, coefficient, constant, variable, monomial, binomial, trinomial, and polynomial. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just define these for you. A term is the product or quotient. Ooh, I spelled that wrong already. The product or quotient of numbers. Okay, it's separated by plus or minus signs. Okay, a coefficient is the number being multiplied by a variable. Constant is a number by itself, and a variable is a letter that represents a number. Okay, so this is stuff that we talked about before. So this piece, if you can't read it, I'm going to go ahead and go over it again real quick. The term is the product or quotient of a set of numbers. It's separated by a plus or minus sign. Coefficient is the number being multiplied by a variable, and a constant is a number by itself, and a variable is a letter that represents a number. What's new is this monomial, binomial, trinomial, and polynomial. So a monomial is an expression with one term. So notice mono, if you think back to English, means one. So monomial means that it's an expression with one term, okay? A binomial is also an expression, but what do you think this one means if it says bi? Bi as in bicycle. A bicycle has two, so a binomial will have two terms. Okay? Try. What number do you think this one will have? With 3, because a tricycle has 3 wheels, so 3 with 3 terms. And a polynomial is an expression. Poly just means multiple or a lot. An expression with 4 or more terms. Okay? So that's the vocabulary. We went ahead and defined all of that. We're going to go ahead and talk about how to figure out if something's a binomial, trinomial, etc. And we're going to review how to identify the term, the coefficient, the variable, and the constant. Now here, terms are separated by addition or subtraction. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look for any addition signs or subtraction. So in this case, I have one addition. So I know I have two terms. Two. So I'm going to go ahead and write this up here. I have two terms. And so my terms are going to be 2x. I don't put them, I'll box them in red. 2x. And I got to take the sign in front of it. So, and a positive 7. Okay, so my terms are 2x and a positive 7. All right, my coefficient is going to be the number being multiplied by my variable. So my variable here, it's very easy to figure that one out. It's just the letter that shows up in the problem, and that's going to be x. My variable is x. and the number being multiplied is the number that's directly in front of it. So what's in front of it? 2. So I'm going to put 2 as my coefficient. And my constant is the number by itself. So the number by itself here is going to be 7. So let me go ahead and put that in green. 7. Okay. Now that I figured out this information, I know and I remember what the term, the coefficient, the variable, and the constant are. Very easy, very simple. What's new is this a monomial, a binomial, a trinomial, or a polynomial? Now, if we remember, mon means 1, bi means 2, tri means 3, and poly is 4 or more. Okay? So here I have 2 terms. So that means that my answer is going to be binomial. A binomial. Okay? Oh, let me go ahead and fix that. Binomial. So today, this video, everything in this video is going to be in your questions for your practice. So if you want to go ahead and pause this and get these answers, you can go ahead and answer the multiple choice or the check marks. Notice that one of the questions asked says you need to make sure to select all that apply. In this case, 2x plus 7, it asks you what 7 is. 7 would be a term and a constant. So make sure you click both of those. That'll be the only question with multiple answers for that section. Again, if I have 2 terms, it's a binomial. All right, we're going to go ahead and go on to the next question. We have 8x minus 7y plus 12. Okay, 8x minus 7y plus 12. First thing I want to do is I want to identify my minuses and my pluses, and I'm just going to put a line through them. So I have a minus here, and I have a plus there, so that separates them that way. So that means that how many terms do I have? I have 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 terms. I'm going to go ahead and put that up to the right so that way I remember. And I have, for my terms, I got to add what's the product slash quotient, right? So I'm going to need to write 8x, that's my first line. And then I got to take my sign with it, so that's a minus 7y, so minus 7y. And then I have a plus 12 at the end, so I have 12. So my terms are 8x, negative 7y, and 12. For my coefficient, I'm going to have 2 this time because I have 2 variables, and my 2 variables are what? Right, x and y. So I'm going to have x and y as my variables. And for my coefficients, it's the numbers in front of them. So I'm going to have 8. And this is a negative 7, so I need to make sure to keep that negative. So negative 7 is the other coefficient. And the constant is the number by itself. So what's the number that we haven't written yet? It was not a coefficient. It was not a variable. What is it? 12. Okay? And again, let's go back to our vocabulary. We have monomial means 1. Bi means 2. Tri means 3. And poly means 4 or more. So with knowing that information, if I have, and remember we put up here 3, if I have 3 terms, then I'm going to have a, right, trinomial. Trinomial. All right, go ahead and pause the video so you can answer the next set of questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop for a second. Should have gotten all those right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question, next example. All right, so here, do I have any addition or subtraction signs anywhere? No. So I only have 1 term. So I have 1 term, and that's 3xyz. Even though there's a lot of variables, they're all being multiplied together. And so my term is only 1, okay? I have no addition or subtraction signs. My coefficient is the number being multiplied by my variables, and that would be 3. My variables are x, y, and z. Do I have any constants here? No. Not applicable. Okay. Now I have one term, so that means it's a, right, monomial. A monomial. All right, and we've got one more problem. Ooh, that's a doozy. There's a lot of numbers there and a lot of addition and subtraction signs. So first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and separate them with additions and subtractions. So I see an addition here. There's a subtraction right there. There's a plus right there and another plus. Okay, so how many do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me go ahead and put 5 over here. For my terms, I'm going to need to write out all of these, everything I separated, and I need to take the sign. So I have negative 2x, I have a positive 7, a negative 10y, a positive 17z, and an 18xy. Okay? What variables do I have? I have x and y and z. Even though I have an x times a y at the end, I don't put them together and call that a variable. They're still two separate variables. Now for my coefficients, I'm going to have 4 different coefficients. I'm going to have negative 2, negative 10, 17, and 18, just the numbers in front of the variables. For my constant, what's the number without a variable? 7, right. So I'm going to have 7. And then I have 5 terms. Now, if I remember, monomial, mono means 1, bi means 2, tri means 3, and poly means 4 or more. So if poly is 4 or more, 5 is more than 4, so this is going to be a polynomial. All right, so if you have any questions about this, go ahead and pause this, get the answers to your questions. And if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me an email. I will see y'all tomorrow.